Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the July 1st meeting of the Rotary Club of York. We are the 22nd largest Rotary Club in the world. Leading our song and pledge today is Cal Weary, and Steve Feldman will deliver our invocation. Cal.
Thank you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And next, Steve Feldman with the invocation.
So I'm sporting my green phase new haircut and ready to pray us into our meeting. So please join me in before the divine presence, however you consider that to be. Lord, 2020 has been an upsetting, tumultuous, and traumatic year so far, and it's only halfway done. Sickness, violence, death, and discord surround us. And it has been hard to find ways to engage our unusually American instinct to try and make things a little better. Here we are at Rotary, meeting electronically, and yet in the middle of a debate on whether we can safely reconvene in person to regain the sharing of a meal and enjoy each other's company again without putting our friends at risk. It's emblematic of our problem. Perhaps we can exercise our instinct to make things a little better through the disciplines inherent in the Rotary four-way test. Perhaps we need to consider whether we are speaking the truth, whether what we advocate is fair to all concerned, whether it builds goodwill and better friendships, and whether it is beneficial to all concerned. It might move us forward with confidence and compassion. It really is a simple concept, but it is decidedly not easy. Grant us the strength of character to follow this small but mighty expression of your divine will, and guide us in paths of compassion and toward goals of mutual respect, mutual well-being, and love. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Steve. Thank you always to Bert, Renee, and Courtney for your meeting support. We do have a few announcements for you today, and our constant reminder to share your ideas, please, with Mike Summers and the program committee. They have some constraints, as you can imagine, with some speakers preferring to deliver their message in person. So please give Mike your ideas. Also, if you're looking for something to do this Friday on July 3rd, volunteers are needed for PPE. This is not personal protection equipment. This is our Preserve Planet Earth committee for storm drain cleanup. And we have some happy news to share. Congratulations are in order to Rotarian Layla Sharnetska. I think the pandemic has thrown many celebrations like graduations and weddings into unique situations, but Layla and her husband have found a way to cut through that clutter, and they got married. So congratulations to you, Layla, and also congratulations to Rotarian Michael Haiti for the birth of your granddaughter, Nora. Life does go on, and we wish the best to both of you Rotarians. And we have a special shout out to past District Governor Patty Rooney. It is hard to believe that a year ago, this picture of Patty and past District Governor Ben was taken at Windridge Farm, and we all gathered there for Patty's installation. Who would have known, Patty, what your year ahead held, and that we would be meeting a year later for the installation of John Anthony remotely? And that's exactly what happened last night as Patty passed the torch to John Anthony, or as he called it, exit stage left. Over 100 Rotarians gathered virtually to celebrate Patty's leadership and dedication to service above self. Comments shared about Patty included exceptional, warm, compassionate, and this is in light of leading our district through the pandemic. Patty, thank you for striving for a nobler cause of Rotary and for leaving District 7390 in a better place, including our 41 clubs and millions of citizens in our district. Congratulations to you, Patty. Next, we have a poll for you. Happy July 4th. And Courtney, I think you're going to take over the poll today.
Yes, thank you, Anne. So you should all be seeing the poll display on your screen right now. And this week, the question is, what type of York County snack will you be munching on during your Independence Day picnic? So if everybody could please take a couple seconds to vote. We have about 105 people on the line. Going to give you about 25 more seconds. Again, the question is, what type of York County snack will you be munching on during your Independence Day picnic? Bring 10 seconds down. Okay, thank you everybody for voting. Now let me share the results. We should see them pop up on the screen here momentarily. So based on the results, it looks like 32% will be enjoying Utz potato chips, 30% Martin's potato chips, 10% Snyder's, 14% celery, so perhaps a couple people who put on some pounds during COVID, their quarantine, and then 15%, everybody just eating everything, 15% all of the above. So thank you everybody for voting. We appreciate that, and look forward to having you on another poll next week. Anne, back to you.
Thanks, Courtney. I'm with the all above, equal opportunity snacker right here. So next we have a wonderful presentation, student education presentation from Diane Marino. Diane.
Hi, everyone. Steve Feldman, I am so thrilled that you went into the green stage. I am happy to say that I went back into the blonde stage, at least for the next 6 weeks until the gray and the dark roots come back. I want to introduce to you today Jacob Landis. Jacob is a 2019 graduate of West York Area High School, and he was awarded the Edwin P. Mangold Scholarship. This scholarship is worth $2,000 a year for each 4 years that he is going to school. He is currently attending Georgia Tech for computer science. Now, if you would like to also help students like Jacob, please contact Glenn Miller, the Legacy Giving Committee, because this scholarship, the Edwin P. Mangold Scholarship, has helped 15 students earn their college degrees. So with that, Jacob, I would like to ask you to share what happened your first year at Georgia Tech and how this scholarship has helped.
Yeah, hello everyone. As you can see, my name's Jacob Landis. I graduated valedictorian of West York High School's class of 2019 when I was lucky enough to receive your Edwin P. Mangold Scholarship for my time at Georgia Tech. I actually went in aerospace engineering, but kind of wasn't really feeling the design aspect of engineering and quickly discovered the love for the problem-solving nature of computer science. So some of my highlights of my year include becoming a brother at Psi Upsilon's Gamma Tau chapter and joining Georgia Tech's marching band. So although we may have gone 3-9 as a football team, being part of a Division I football team's marching band is absolutely incredible. And it's things like these that carry unexpected costs that the Mangold Scholarship has been incredibly helpful for. Being an out-of-state student, it's already a pretty high price tag, but having an extra $2,000 per year gives me the flexibility to make the most out of my time in college by doing the things like marching band without having to worry about additional costs. So I'd like to thank the entire Rotary Club of York tremendously for the scholarship and the opportunities that come with it.
Thank you so much, Jacob, and we wish you the best of luck and continued success in your second year at Georgia Tech.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jacob, and congratulations. You're always welcome back at the Rotary Club of York. Best luck of luck to you. So next we have a local business spotlight, and that is Stamball Ness. They have been in service for 1 century and serving most of the country at that time. Their clients are professional. They are a professional service firm with a focus on architecture, engineering, professional services, construction, real estate, manufacturing, nonprofit, and governmental industries. Stamball Ness's clients can access services including compliance, business and tax advisory, technology could be a position there for you, Jacob, workforce and next gen solutions. And they are focused on growth and profitability of their clients. As you know, Steve Klunk is a partner with Stamball Ness, and I realized that Steve joined our club 20 years ago, the same year that I joined Steve. But I also realized that for half of his service as a Rotarian, he has definitely fit the bill of service above self, because for half of his tenure as a member, he has served as our financial vice president. Thank you, Steve, for keeping our finances in order and lending your expertise to our club and therefore our community. And we wish you the best of luck. So thank you so much for your service. Next, I have an opportunity to introduce someone who may be familiar to some of you, and that is Frank Dittenhafer. Murphy & Dittenhafer is an award-winning 25-person architectural, interiors, and planning firm with offices in York and Baltimore. This year, the firm is celebrating 35 years of designing inspiring places. Their work is well known to York Rotarians. From the award-winning Codo and George Street Lofts to the Polo Family Performing Arts Center, Gladfelder Library, Swenson Engineering Center at Penn State York. Noteworthy venues in Baltimore include the Hippodrome Theater and renovations to Oriole Park at Camden Yards. In addition to designing a weekend residence in southeastern York County for a world-famous New York City artist who also spoke to our club a few years ago. Frank, I imagine that might have been a challenge. You may have had to go to scale for some of that huge artwork. Their projects have earned over 210 awards for architectural excellence, historic preservation, and craftsmanship of construction. Extensive community involvement has been a hallmark, including the Reed Menzer Memorial Skate Park, Gold Star Healing and Peace Garden, York's YMCA and YWCA, the York County Literacy Council, and more. Frank is a York County native. He earned his undergrad at Penn State, his master's from University of Pennsylvania, and while at Penn, he received the Dales Traveling Fellowship and was awarded the Arthur Spade Brooke Bronze Medal for Design. Frank was elevated into the American Institute of Architects College of Fellows in 2007 for his creative, thoughtful, and purposeful design work throughout central Pennsylvania and Maryland. Frank, president and co-founder of Murphy & Dittenhafer, was named one of 25 Icon Award recipients by the Central Penn Business Journal last year. He was recently notified by Penn State University that the architecture department selected him as recipient of the 2020 Architectural Alumni Award. Frank lives in Spry with his wife and fellow York Rotarian Sue Ann Klein, owner of Klein Graphic Design. And I had a chance to connect with Sue Ann, and I think what she shares will be poignant, I know, to Frank and likely to our other Rotarians. This is from Sue Ann. One of their best trips ever was traveling across America by train and returning by traveling across Canada by train. This was a dream that Sue Ann often talked about doing someday when they got old. To her astonishment, Frank and a friend of his who was a travel agent planned this trip in secret as a big birthday surprise. This, Suzanne says, is Frank's nature, to quietly do something that may seem improbable or out of reach and to work it out. He has the vision to see things that you dream, listen, plan, and to make it happen. She thinks this is why and how he has succeeded in his career through his talent and by his caring. Today, Rotarians, we hear from a caring, successful, and visionary Rotarian. Please welcome Frank Dittenhafer.
Well, thank you very much, Anne, for that very nice introduction. And thank you, Rotary Club of York, for inviting me back for another 5-year architectural update and review. I'm going to show you a lot of slides, but none of them have bullet points on them. They're all photographs and drawings. I'm going to go through them rather rapidly. And it's hard to believe, but 2020 is Murphy and Dittenhafer's 35th year. Unfortunately, this photo doesn't lie. And before I go into projects and what we've been doing the past 5 years, I do want to give a big shout out to the Murphy and Dittenhafer staff. They are primarily responsible for all the things I'm going to talk about and show you. They're incredibly talented and a hardworking group of people, very nice people. And this is what they look like now. We've been all working remotely for over 3 months, and they're doing an absolutely fantastic job, being very productive, connecting very well with all of our clients through Zoom and other platforms, and they deserve really an awful lot of credit. So what about the past 5 years? The past 5 years have been very busy. A number of things I probably showed you 5 years ago have come to fruition. As an example, the transformation of the former Lafayette Club building on East Market Street has been completed. There's a wonderful collaboration with York College to adaptively reuse the building as the new Center for Community Engagement, converting parlors and dining rooms, and repairing murals as multi-purpose spaces for programming and use by students, and bringing their hospitality management program into the lower level of the building. In a later phase that was completed about a year ago, repurposed a couple upper level rooms and incorporated the recycled salvaged bowling alley flooring as worktops for the students. If there's a theme in our work from the past 5 years and even beyond, it's really transformations. And we are involved in a lot of transformations of historic buildings, older buildings, or sometimes these buildings from the 1970s, 80s, 60s that are not really, if they're on college campuses, they're not the most endeared buildings by students, faculty, or anyone, as this one was in Prince George's County, Maryland, at a community college, until we had the opportunity about 3 years ago to complete a whole series of renovations and additions and transform a building that people tried to avoid on campus to one that now they are very, very engaged with much more interesting and daylight and orienting spaces, connecting vertically, horizontally, and into a new lecture hall that we designed. We also, some of our community-related projects were completed in the past 5 years, such as the work at the York Jewish Community Center, where a wellness fitness center renovation and expansion was completed so that members now do not have to do their workout in the hallway, and also a state-of-the-art child care center, classrooms, and motor skills room, so that a dent could be made in the over 200 child waiting list that the JCC had. Again, that transformational aspect pervades so many of our projects. This one at the Hack York campus, where we converted this empty room into a student commons in a very economical fashion. And the student commons then replaced the row of chairs in the hallway which had sufficed as the only place in the George Leader building where students really could hang out between classes. We also had a chance a few years ago to renovate one of our own buildings, the Gladfelder Library at the Penn State York campus. The second floor, north end, had some extra space due to digital information accommodation and not needing as many stack areas for books. And we were able to design and construct the Nittany Success Center in that zone, which is the campus tutoring and learning center, and relocate it from really a corner of a classroom into this new space, which is very nice, provides confidentiality and a much better view as well. We've had some great projects in the past 5 years in the private sector, redevelopment projects such as the former Woolworth department store, where we worked with Royal Square Development and Construction to transform it into some really great urban loft apartments and grade level retail space in both the Woolworth site and the Weinbroom building site. A big part, along with those types of projects, a big part of what Murphy and Dittenhafer continues to do as much as we can is work with community, not-for-profit organizations, and provide, if we can, either pro bono services or very discounted services. It's who we are. We try to give back really as much as we can. And during the last 5 years, our work to expand the Reed Menzer Skate Park came to fruition. That is a very regional, very well-used regional attraction, and the work included the incorporation of a 12-foot diameter former oil storage tank into a full pipe. We also continued our work and are anxious to see a new shade structure be installed in a few months from now, hopefully. We've also provided some pro bono services at the Gold Star Memorial Peace Garden for a new kiosk. We're working with Rotarian Brad Jacobs for a Veterans Memorial at the new Dover High School. By coincidence, I found that I'm interfacing with a lot of Rotarians on these projects, so I think this is a very good thing for everybody. Working with Bobby Andaleo and the York City York Literacy Council on their new space, Jody Keller and others on with Pappas House, and Jean Truthhart and the YWCA of York for their Camp Canadian initiatives to preserve and protect. That will continue as much as we possibly can. I get asked all the time, well, what was your favorite project? Which is it's a very unfair question. It's like asking you, well, which of your kids are your favorite? But I will mention 3 that I like very much. One is the work we did for the York Revolution down at People's Bank Park to convert the former White Rose Hall into the 1741 Club. And it was a great collaboration with Eric Menzer and his team. Some additional space became available with the adjacent skybox footprints that we were given really some pretty good design freedom to come up with something very exuberant, very visually interesting, indoor-outdoor capabilities that really coincided with the new offering that the Revolution was providing in the 1741 Club. A second project, and maybe my top 3, is a new building we designed out at Penn State York, the Graham Center for Innovation and Collaboration. It's under construction now, and it's a very unique building. It sits on the site between the Gladfelder Library and their main classroom building on a pretty steeply sloping area. And the building is a lot of very flexible, open collaboration space for students to work together, to work with community business people, faculty, and to really dive into entrepreneurial endeavors. It really will be up to the students, I think, how this building really is used. We're very excited about it. And the final favorite I will talk about, and I'm very passionate about this project, but it's not about the architecture that I'm so passionate. This is in Howard County, Maryland, near Columbia, Maryland, in an area called Freetown. And this is the former Harriet Tubman High School, which was the first and only Black high school in Howard County, built in 1949. and continued as such until 1965 when desegregation occurred. And then the building kind of sat empty and was just used as storage by the Board of Education for many years. And again, it's not an architectural masterpiece. What I'm really excited about is the work we've been doing for a couple of years, working with the Harriet Tubman Foundation, the County Historical Society, other community groups, the County Department of Parks and Recreation to convert this building into the Harriet Tubman Cultural Center. And it'll have a variety of spaces and programs, displays. It'll acknowledge the African American history. It'll be all about really inclusivity and diversity as opposed to what its original purpose was. And part of it is under construction already, and we're continuing to work on the design into 2020. I get asked a lot, particularly by my father, did you work on any big projects? And the answer is yes. Actually, the largest project that Murphy and Dittenhafer has ever worked on, we started about 3 years ago, and it's in Harrisburg. It's the Forum building on the Capitol complex, if you've ever been there. And I think I probably, when I spoke 5 years ago, showed you the auditorium that we restored and renovated. This is a 1932 building, an Art Deco masterpiece. And the project we've been working on a few years ago and continue to is really the rest of the building, which also includes some phenomenal Art Deco historical spaces, including the State Library, the State Law Library, but also over 400,000 square feet of space that is primarily empty and unoccupied for many years that our design converts to really state-of-the-art and safe and healthy office space that will probably be occupied by close to 700 people in the Pennsylvania State Department of Education. We continue to work on really our interior studio, work on the space planning and fit out of the 7 or 8 level building for the Department of Education. We have a similar project in Annapolis near the State House where we started the design last year on a new 6-level building for the state of Maryland. And we also completed, worked on the design about 4 years ago on a new elementary school, which is a big project for us, about 100,000 square foot building. And we were able to figure out how to make this project happen and come up with a design that fit the building behind that red line that you see in this site plan. That red line is a 100-year floodplain line, and previous firms kind of forgot about that or ignored it or could not figure out how to build a new elementary school on this site. We not only figured it out, but we had a very kind of creative and economical approach to the construction. Sort of had a hinge between 2 wings. The wing to the left was the 2-story kind of classroom wing of the elementary school, the central media center. The wing on the right were the larger, taller spaces, the gymnasium and cafeteria. And the project, the construction was completed about 2 years ago. Bids came in almost $2 million under budget. It was completed on time, and it turned out really pretty nicely. It had some nice spaces in it. The teachers love it, the students love it, and our client, Baltimore County Public Schools, loved it to the degree that they gave us another school to design, again on a very tight site. And we're just finishing the final drawings on that project, which is the Bedford Elementary School. And since our plan has sort of become a prototype now, they gave us a 3rd elementary school to design on another site. And as we can flip the plan or elongate the plan, this prototype we came up with on the first site has really turned out very beneficial for us. I get asked about, well, do you do any unusual or challenging projects? So I think the case could be made that all of our projects are a little unusual or challenging. And yes, I'm showing you a restroom project, which is hard to believe. This is the before photo though. And we were approached by the Hack campus in York to renovate these large restrooms in the George Leader building, 20, 25 fixtures each that needed, the restrooms needed a lot of work. And I really enthusiastically accepted this commission because I really don't think architects generally provide thoughtful designs and think enough about restrooms. And so I was determined. We were going to come up with a design that was very low maintenance. We have ceiling and wall hung partitioning. We have basin sinks. Before it was sort of very desirable, hands-free fixturing, large format tiles. And not only was it able to be economically constructed, it looks pretty decent, looks good. As part of that project, we also designed a number of nursing, breastfeeding privacy rooms that have a little more dignity than sort of those pods that kind of show up out of nowhere. So it's a restroom project, but one that we're very happy with how it turned out. We've also done some interesting and unusual projects in the large, long warehouse building down at Camden Yards. We completely renovated all 3 of the lobbies that cut through the building. They were on the fast track. The Orioles are obviously a big tenant in that building. They all have kind of Oriole themes. They were completed on the fast track for opening day in April, but of course there was no opening day. Also, as part of that project, we worked out a new lighting scheme to light up the facades, change colors. If it's December or in the winter time and the Ravens are in town, we can go Raven purple and change it for other times of the year. Also refreshed and added a whole series of new signs at the warehouse at Camden Yards. We also do work a number of colleges and university campuses in Maryland. This is at the University of Maryland College Park, and tucked away on the top floor of this physics building, the Toll Physics Building, we designed a very interesting and unusual project. It's a series of classrooms, 2 in particular, all related to cybersecurity. And these are classrooms where up to 25 students can be in. 2 of them are adjacent to each other. And it's a cybersecurity kind of warfare simulation venue where there's an attacking team and a defending team, and they go through their exercises and then they kind of compare notes. It's a very active program at College Park, Maryland, University of Maryland. Unfortunately, the university is not, the project's completed, but they were not able to have students back on campus to really use it yet. So we're anxious for that to happen. I do get approached, and we do lots of residential projects, but I get approached for sort of small, unusual projects, which I like to do. This was in New York, a high-end fashion designer approached me about the idea of getting her design studio out of her house and building it on top of her garage. And she kind of had an idea, could it be like a shipping container? And we looked at it, came up with really a very cool way to componentize the construction, keep the garage for cars underneath it, and end up with a very cool, flexible, open environment, which I've labeled the fashion garage. We also were approached by Old St. Paul Church on Charles Street in Baltimore. This is the church, the oldest congregation in Baltimore. And I showed you this slide 5 years ago because we did a major interior restoration for the church. At this time, we were asked to try to get rid of the plywood ramps that they have out in front of this historic church, built in 1856. So the ramp situation they've been dealing with for almost 20 years. And we tackled it, and it took almost a year, but we did come up with an acceptable solution to all of the regulatory historical review people, one that is removable, one that interfaces seamlessly with brownstone and marble and all the materials, one that is very minimalist, and the congregation can now get rid of the plywood. I always get asked, well, what exciting projects are you working on now? And my answer is typically, well, all of them, but here's a few. We are doing an interesting project up at the governor's residence in Harrisburg, and to convert really the hardscaped eastern forecourt where visitors enter for events and programming into really a green forecourt with new, now handicapped accessible walks and an enlarged event terrace to accommodate visitors for programming in a safer and more sustainable manner. We just finished up the design for a really interesting building for Carroll County government, the Office of State's Attorney. It's a whole series of departments in this 4-story building, including the Special Victims Unit. We also are in the midst of a very interesting new building in Anne Arundel County, an intergenerational center. It's a combination of a senior center on the left side of this plan, a Boys and Girls Club, which is on the right-hand side of the plan, and they share a gym and multi-purpose space in between. These are two very separate, distinct tenants, but they will have some really interesting synergies in the intergenerational plaza and other areas of this project. Again, in the transformational mode, we, a couple of years ago, transformed this building at Allegheny College, did a new entry design, which looks like this now, and some renovations to the core of that same building. And now we're involved with the design of the rest of the building, the rest of the renovations of about 40,000 square feet. And these are definitely not the types of classroom learning environments that any of us probably have experienced at our college or university. They are highly technologically driven, very open, collaborative. They have names like Hackathon, Recharge Lounge, Sky Lounge, and we're very excited about where that project is headed, which is under construction now. Get asked, well, what's going on at the Northwest Triangle? And it's moving along. It's maybe in a little hiatus for obvious reasons right now. But one thing that has transpired in the Innovation District planning that keeps evolving is that really the phasing of the project has flipped. And instead of those kind of high-tech alternative manufacturing, robotic-driven sort of workplace buildings being the first phase, in the first phases beyond the site and infrastructure work will probably be the residential mixed-use building along North Beaver Street. You know, the market has changed. Some of those tenants that were interested and still looking at the later building sites, and some of those are accommodate quite large amount of workers, you know, 800, 1,000 people in some cases, smaller, more moderate sized in other cases. They're going to take a little more time, and the market really remains pretty ripe for the residential component. And so the phasing again has been flipped on this obviously long-term development project that's very important to the city of York. In terms of the effects of COVID-19, again, our office and our staff really pretty seamlessly continued work remotely. It's something we had actually implemented prior to the COVID-19, but we took real safety precautions and we were able to just continue and helped our clients along with it. The only real impact on in our firm was that our construction projects in Pennsylvania came to a screeching halt per the governor's orders. But that changed in May, and the Penn projects like the Graham Center building at Penn State York is now up again, flying towards the finish line at the end of July, early August. Our project, the new municipal campus for Spring Garden Township, again, construction has resumed, and the building part, you know, is rapidly edging towards end of year completion with the park to follow, the Violet Hill Park that Gordon Fryrick wrote about recently. Our work for the Mezzo Minerals 3-level renovation stopped after the top level was done, but now it's rapidly going forward with the second floor being completed very quickly by Jerry Watson and his team at Keystruck. And our work down at the YMCA Southern Branch in Shrewsbury, which came to an abrupt halt, is resumed a couple months ago and should be finished by the end of July, the gymnasium and the warm water pool. So in terms of a forecast of sorts for the next 5 years and maybe related trends, I was asked actually about 4 years ago by the Central Penn Business Journal to give a sort of a keynote talk to about 400 people in Hershey. And their theme was, what will buildings of the future look like? And this was the first slide that I showed them, that I think more and more, they're going to look like this. They're not all going to look like bricks and mortar structures. And I think this is probably even more relevant today with what we're all going through. We're learning, the benefits and the pitfalls of teleworking, working remotely. We're learning and seeing how productive and efficient that is, or what doesn't work. And that is going to continue. So the offerings of services, commodities, products, even entertainment, I think my forecast that's going to continue to grow. But I don't think that's the end of the story. It's not the end of my personal prediction, because I see a trend that is not slowing down in our work for community gathering places, such as libraries. We do a lot of libraries. We have some we're designing now, some we were constructed a couple years ago in the past 5 years, such as the renovation of this one near Cumberland, Maryland. These are places where communities want to reinvent, repurpose, renovate, revitalize them as hubs within communities where people of all ages and all needs come together and want to continue to come together for various needs, various services. And we're not seeing that stopping at all, that request. Yeah, we'll figure it out, how we kind of safely gather in groups of certain sizes, and that's been part of our design work. But we've renovated, reinvented buildings. We have new buildings and new libraries in communities. This is near Hancock, that was just completed about a year ago. And it's the same story. The statistics on usage of these buildings when they're constructed is off the charts in terms of the types, the demographics, the types of services and usage. Now, make a parallel. We do a lot of work for churches and faith-based organizations. And I'll make a parallel that it's not really very different than a lot of the work we've done recently and continue to do in those contexts. This is St. Paul Lutheran, happens to be Dan Waltersdorf's church, it's just west of York, if you know where that is. And it's a very nice, very solid, this is what it looked like, but not really that conducive to gathering, sticking around after services or meetings. And we did a project to really improve that, to encourage that gathering, the social context of communities. And I think that is the balancing aspect of my forecast. What I am seeing, it's anecdotal, but it's what we see in the type of work and commissions we do. We're not going to do everything remotely, everything by Zoom or Teams. That will increase, but I think it's going to be balanced by all kinds of projects that will want more brick and mortar, again, reinvention, renovations, additions. Maybe not every type of project, but I think it will go beyond the need to socialize, the need to gather, will go beyond restaurants, bars, and other maybe more obvious scenarios into the community for community hubs. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Frank. That was excellent. You certainly know your club well, and you did a wonderful job in asking some thoughtful or answering your own thoughtful questions. One of those you did take care of in regard to how will COVID, I think you did that very well, and how will COVID impact future design. One that we had was tongue in cheek, and I'll share that with you. And you did show a bathroom, so that might have inspired a Rotarian to give that. This question to you: in the hotel industry, why does the placement of the toilet paper dispenser in bathrooms require that you be a contortionist or at least have long arms in order to easily tear off a sheet?
Because some architect didn't really think it through, that's why.
That'll be a challenge for your next 35 years, right, Frank?
Right.
Are there any other questions for Frank? Well, Frank, it'll be interesting to welcome you back in another 5 years, and you will likely have a journey planned with Sue Ann that you can update us on. And thank you so much for the great work you do in our community. It's amazing how many of the structures and buildings and features that we enjoy that you've had a huge part in. the built space of our community. So thank you very much, Frank. And we do have as past President Di Hershey initiated, we are now giving all of our speakers a book to sign. So our book is called Play Day School Day. So Frank, we'll have you sign the book plate, and that will be presented to York Day Nursery for their childcare. So thanks a lot, Frank. Actually, I do have one question for you, Frank, if you want to take one. I think we have time. And that is, first of all, it's a thank you, Frank, for your firm's pro bono work in our community, especially your work with the Dover High School Veterans Memorial. And then the last one is, does COVID and the residual opportunities for more spacious workplaces, hold on here, Frank. Does COVID and the residual offer opportunities for more spacious workplaces? I've got it. Okay. So do you think workplaces will expand as a result of that, or do you think technology will also play into that?
I think it's some of each. We've had some very interesting discussions with a number of clients about, are they going to go to shifts in terms of certain percentage of their workforce working certain days, and others working remotely, 2 days a week or 3 days. I haven't really found clients that are going completely remote so that the amount of square footage shrinks significantly. But we've also, again, some of the discussions we've had, it's important that when people are on site in their workplace, it's their workplace, even with increased cleaning and hygiene and everything else that's being incorporated, better filtration of HVAC systems. But I think the bottom line from discussions we've had with clients is to have enough flexibility, enough adaptability. There certainly are guidelines now about how you orient workplace, how much circulation space you need, that it provides safe social distancing. So there are a lot of things you can do, but the discussions kind of lead to that people don't have it all figured out, and they may go into it, a year from now one way, and a year later it changes. And so having flexibility and adaptability built into their design in a safe way is really what we're seeing, not a immediate shrinkage or an enlargement of the workplace for a person.
Excellent, Frank. Yeah, flexibility is the word of the year, I think. And also, we received a nice shout out to you that your work brings fame to York, and Rotarians are so very proud of you, Frank.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to let you know that next week, Rotarians, you may be thinking deja vu, because President Josh will be at your virtual podium doing the honors while I'm on vacation. I'd like to wish you all a happy and safe July 4th. And in honor of Patty Rooney, today's ear candy is Sir Elton John. We had Stevie Wonder lined up, but we moved Stevie back in the lineup. So had about 100 people on the call today. Thank you, Patty. He thanks our club for your support. And Patty, this is your song. Hit it, Courtney.